Sometimes the truth isn't hidden behind complicated explanations. It's hidden behind silence, hesitation, and half-answers. When someone avoids answering even the simplest of questions, it's rarely because they didn't hear you or forgot what you said. In most cases, it's because your question touched a part of them they don't want to reveal. Avoidance is one of the most subtle, yet powerful defense mechanisms people use. When a person avoids your questions, it tells you more about their emotions and intentions than their words ever could. Maybe you ask something innocent like, "Where were you?" or "Why didn't you reply?" And suddenly the air changes, they look away, their tone shifts, and they give you a vague response that leaves you more confused than before. That moment is where psychology begins to speak louder than language. People who dodge simple questions are often managing an internal conflict. They may be hiding guilt, shame, or simply fear of confrontation. Your question might be simple, but the answer might not be. For example, if someone is lying or keeping something from you, even a light question can feel like a threat to their carefully built story. Their hesitation, their nervous laugh, or their quick attempt to change the subject are signs that your question got a little too close to the truth. Psychologically, this behavior connects deeply to what's called avoidant communication. People develop this pattern when they grow up in environments where honesty led to punishment or rejection. If telling the truth once caused them pain, they learn to hide it, not just from others but even from themselves. So when you ask a simple question, it can trigger an old emotional memory of fear, judgment, or conflict. But not all avoidance comes from deceit. Sometimes people avoid questions because they're not ready to face what the answer means for them. If someone has made a mistake or betrayed trust, saying the truth out loud makes it real. Avoiding your question helps them maintain a fragile illusion that everything is fine, that the problem isn't as bad as it feels. It's a form of emotional self-preservation. In relationships, this often shows up as emotional distance. You might ask, "Is something wrong?" And they'll say, "No, I'm fine," while everything about them says otherwise. They may not want to admit they're upset, jealous, or disconnected because doing so means opening up emotionally, something that requires vulnerability. Vulnerability feels dangerous to people who fear being judged or abandoned, so they keep it hidden behind silence, humor, or vague words. There's also a deeper truth here. People who avoid simple questions often do so to maintain control. When they don't answer, they control the flow of the conversation. They decide what stays hidden and what comes to light. This tactic is common among people who have manipulative tendencies or those who fear losing power in a relationship dynamic. By keeping you guessing, they make you chase for answers, and that chase gives them emotional leverage. Sometimes, though, it's not manipulation but self-protection. Maybe they've been hurt before by being too honest. Maybe their truth was once used against them. So now they filter every word, every detail, afraid that being transparent might once again lead to pain. This is why trauma survivors often struggle to answer personal or emotional questions. What seems simple to you might feel dangerous to them. You'll also notice that people who avoid answering direct questions tend to use deflection. They'll respond to your question with another question, or shift attention elsewhere. For instance, if you ask, "Why didn't you call me back?" they might reply, "Why are you always so worried?" It's a psychological tactic called projection, where instead of facing their own discomfort, they throw it back at you to shift the focus. This creates confusion and guilt, making you question whether you were even right to ask in the first place. It's important to remember, avoidance doesn't always mean bad intentions. Sometimes people need time to gather their thoughts, especially if they fear that their answer might hurt you. Honest communication requires emotional safety, and not everyone feels safe enough to be truthful right away. If someone truly cares about you, they might avoid answering because they don't want to cause you pain. They pause, hesitate, or retreat into silence because they're trying to find a way to express something without making things worse. But over time, constant avoidance damages trust. Silence becomes louder than lies. You begin to sense that something isn't right, that you're no longer talking with them but talking at a wall. And when communication breaks down, emotional connection follows. That's when you realize that sometimes, unanswered questions tell you everything you need to know. The hardest part is accepting that avoidance itself is an answer. It tells you they're hiding something, an emotion, a truth, or a version of themselves they're not ready to reveal. Maybe they feel guilty, or maybe they're emotionally disconnected. Whatever the reason, It's not your job to force honesty out of someone who chooses to stay silent. People who genuinely value you will try to clarify, not confuse. They'll explain even when it's uncomfortable, because they know trust is built on transparency. On the other hand, those who constantly avoid, deflect, or twist your questions are showing you who they are, not through words but through behavior. And behavior never lies. So the next time someone dodges your question, don't chase them for the truth. Watch their reaction. Notice how their eyes move, how their tone shifts, how quickly they change the topic. Human behavior reveals everything words try to hide. If you ever feel like you're being kept in the dark, remember, honest people don't need to hide behind silence. Their answers may not always be perfect, but they'll always be sincere. Silence, avoidance, and vague replies are often the quiet signs of someone who's either protecting themselves, hiding something, or slowly detaching from the relationship. In the end, it's simple. If a person avoids simple questions, it's because they're afraid of what honesty might reveal, to you and to themselves. And once you recognize that, you stop taking their silence personally. You start understanding it for what it really is, a reflection of their inner conflict, not your worth.